The smell of turkey and judgment filled my childhood home as I stood on the porch, holding a casserole dish and watching my 3 cats peer from their carriers in the car. Another Thanksgiving, another performance where I'd play the role of the family disappointment. Olivia, my mother opened the door, her smile faltering as she spotted the pet carriers. Oh, you brought them again. Just for a few hours, Mom. Mrs. Chen is visiting family and couldn't cat sit. She sighed. Well, hurry in. Everyone's already here. The dining room buzzed with familiar voices. My brother James held court, describing his latest promotion at the investment firm. My sister Patricia showed off photos of her twins' private school awards. Various cousins and aunts clustered in groups, their lives sparkling with conventional success. Olivia's here, Mom announced with forced cheer. She brought her friends. The cats. Aunt Linda's voice cut through the chatter. How many does she have now? 3, I said, setting down the casserole and trying to ignore the exchanged glances. 3. She clutched her pearls. At your age? Oh, honey. I'd barely taken my seat at the table, the single-person spot between chatty cousins, when the interrogation began. So, Olivia, Uncle Paul started, carving turkey with surgical precision. Still doing that government thing? Yes, still at the State Department. Entry level must be tough at 35, Cousin Marcus chimed in. I remember my assistant days. Thank God I moved up quickly. I opened my mouth to correct him. I hadn't been entry level in over a decade, but Aunt Linda was already launching into her favorite topic. Look at her, 35 and alone. Aunt Linda announced at Thanksgiving, her voice carrying over the entire table. No husband, no children, no prospects. Just her and those cats. So pathetic. The words hung in the air like burnt gravy. Forks paused mid-bite. Even the twins stopped fidgeting. Now, Linda, my mother said weakly. Olivia's very dedicated to her career. What career? Aunt Linda waved dismissively. She's been in the same dead-end job for years. At least if she'd found a husband, she'd have something to show for it. But no, she's too picky. Too focused on those ridiculous cats and whatever she does in that office all day. I told her, Patricia added, not even looking at me, that my neighbor's son is single. He's divorced, but beggars can't be choosers at her age. The saddest part, Aunt Linda continued, warming to her theme, is she doesn't even realize how pathetic it is. Coming here every year, alone, with animals instead of children. What kind of legacy is that? I stared at my plate, the turkey blurring slightly. Not from tears. I'd stopped crying over their words years ago, but from exhaustion. They had no idea about the 18-hour days, the crisis negotiations, the times I'd mediated between nations on the brink of conflict. To them, I was just Olivia who couldn't keep a man. Maybe we should introduce her to Dr. Morrison, Uncle Paul suggested. He's 60 but stable, looking for someone to take care of him. She could do worse, Aunt Linda agreed. Lord knows she's running out of options. Those cats won't keep her warm when she's 50, Anne. The doorbell rang. Who could that be? Mom frowned. Everyone's here. The doorbell rang again, insistent. Then a knock, firm, official. I'll get it, I said, grateful for the escape. But when I opened the door, I froze. 6 people in dark suits stood on the porch, earpieces visible, expressions professionally neutral. Behind them, 3 black SUVs idled in the driveway, engines running. The lead agent, a woman with steel-gray hair, stepped forward. Ambassador Wells, your security detail for the Unsummit. Her voice carried clearly through the house. Every conversation stopped. I apologize for the interruption, ma'am, she continued. But there's been a development. The Secretary General needs you in New York immediately. We have a helicopter waiting. 6 agents in suits entered, filling the modest foyer with an unmistakable presence of authority. They moved with the fluid coordination of people who protected world leaders for a living. Ambassador Wells, another agent said, we've secured the perimeter. Whenever you're ready. I heard a crash from the dining room. Aunt Linda choked on turkey, coughing violently as wine went down the wrong pipe. Uncle Paul whispered, Ambassador? 5 minutes, I told the lead agent. I need to collect my things. Of course, ma'am. We'll wait outside. The Secretary General stressed this is urgent. The situation in Eastern Europe requires your immediate attention. They filed out with the same precision they'd entered, leaving me standing in a foyer that suddenly felt too small. I returned to the dining room to find my family frozen in tableau, forks suspended, mouths open. James started. You're an ambassador? UN Special Ambassador for Crisis Resolution, I said, gathering my purse. I need to go. There's a situation developing that requires immediate attention. But Patricia's voice was faint. You said you worked at the State Department. I do. Have for 15 years. Started as an analyst, promoted to deputy negotiator, then chief negotiator. The UN appointment came through 2 years ago. Why didn't you tell us? Mom demanded, her face cycling through emotions. You never asked. I looked around the table at their stunned faces. Every year, I sit here while you discuss my pathetic life. Not once has anyone asked what I actually do. You just assumed I was a secretary or filing clerk. But ambassadors are important people. Uncle Paul protested weakly. They're on TV, in newspapers. Only when things go wrong. When we do our job right, no one knows we exist. I pulled out my phone, showing them a photo from last month. This is me with the UN Secretary General and the German Chancellor. We prevented a trade war that would have cost millions of jobs. It never made the news because we resolved it quietly. Aunt Linda found her voice. But you're still single. Still have cats. Yes, I'm single. My last relationship ended because I was gone 200 days a year preventing international incidents. Yes, I have cats, they're excellent company and don't judge my life choices. I grabbed my coat. And for the record, I'm not pathetic. I speak 7 languages, have negotiated peace agreements in 3 conflict zones, and last month, I literally prevented a war. A war. Marcus squeaked. Border dispute in the Balkans. Took 16 hours of negotiations, but we found a solution. I headed for the door. The turkey was excellent, Mom. I'm sorry I have to leave. Olivia, wait. She followed me to the foyer. How long have you been an ambassador? 2 years. Before that, I was Deputy Director of International Crisis Management for 8 years. 8 years? Her voice broke. My daughter has been, and I told people you were struggling. I know. I hugged her briefly. You all decided who I was without asking. It was easier to let you believe it than fight every holiday. Outside, the security detail snapped to attention. Agent Martinez opened the SUV door for me. The cats, I started. Already secured in the follow vehicle, ma'am, she assured me. Miss Chen has been notified and will meet us in New York to collect them. As we pulled away, I saw my family crowded at the window, watching the convoy disappear. My phone buzzed immediately. Texts from cousins who'd found my Wikipedia page, my official UN biography, articles about negotiations I'd led. Ma'am, Agent Martinez glanced back. The helicopter is 15 minutes out. The Secretary General will brief you in flight. Thank you. I looked at the texts pouring in, apologies, congratulations, expressions of shock. I silenced the phone. Family gathering? She asked with professional neutrality. Something like that. Well, ma'am, if it helps, my family still thinks I'm a mall security guard. They can't quite grasp the Secret Service thing. I smiled. Do they give you grief about being single? Every Easter and Christmas. My aunt has a whole speech about my biological clock. Mine too. Apparently, cats aren't an acceptable substitute for grandchildren. With respect, ma'am, your cats probably cause fewer international incidents than most people's kids. I laughed, the first genuine laugh of the day. That's probably true. The helicopter was waiting in a field outside town, rotors already spinning. As I boarded, I thought about Aunt Linda's words. Pathetic. Alone. No legacy. Next month, I'd be mediating talks that could affect millions of lives. Last year, my work helped redirect humanitarian aid to refugee camps in Syria. The year before, I'd helped prevent an economic collapse in South America. But to them, I'd always been just the single woman with cats. My phone buzzed one more time before takeoff. Mom, I'm so sorry. We never knew. Aunt Linda is crying. Please come for Christmas? I typed back. Can't promise. Depends on world peace. Then I switched off the phone and focused on the briefing materials Martinez handed me. Somewhere in Eastern Europe, tensions were rising. Diplomats were gathering. Nations were watching. And a 35-year-old woman with 3 cats was flying through the night to help fix it. Alone. Hardly. Pathetic. Never. I had work to do.